Okay, so another important question I get from prospect franchisees is, what's the support? What does the Jim's group or Jim's bookkeeping give support? Let me talk you through the process. You can't buy a franchise unless you do the initial induction training, exactly what Michael was just talking about. Some other franchise will say, pay you 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. Thank you very much. Come to my 10-day training program. I'll do this, and off you go. With our processes, no one can buy a franchise. No one can invest in the franchise in a Jim's group unless you do the initial induction training program. Exactly what Michael was talking about. Now, that's at our head office at Marula in Victoria. It's about an hour from the airport. Typically, they happen on a monthly basis. November the 11th, December the 9th, and January the 9th. So they're the next ones for the next 3 months. I'm sure some of the people on the webinar today understand those processes, but that's the initial start of your support. What we do on a weekly basis is exactly what we're doing here now, and it happens on a Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern's time. We call it Ask the Expert Zoom meeting, where our franchisees get on in an open meeting process. We're not the experts, it's everybody in the room. So that's where we will communicate and support each franchisee, any queries or questions, and we've solved some tricky little questions, but I'll always talk about what's happening in the group, what's happening in the marketing processes. So we believe that open communication and regular communication is where support happens. Under each franchise owner, there's a franchisor. Now that franchisor will be contacting you daily when you first start, weekly, and then move on to your experience, once you get more experience on a lesser basis. But it's a frightening fact when you first start your business, doesn't matter how many years of experience that you've got, there's that little fear. What do I do next? At the initial training, you'll walk away with your 90-day plan. But then you've got someone to talk to and phone and meet and coffee and have Zoom meetings with that person on a regular basis. Other training is, a lot of the third-party suppliers contact us, not only in the software industry, in the apps industry, and in the marketing industry. So we have certain amount of webinars and training programs. Sure, we get wholesale discounts from all the suppliers, which are passed back to our franchisees. Under our franchise agreement, regionals, divisionals cannot take what we call kickbacks. That's illegal and unethical. Being a fellow CPA, we just have nothing to do with that. So we have third-party suppliers. Sure, face-to-face meetings. Some of your regionals might go out with you to do your interviews. Let's be serious. Bookkeeping is a cloud-based business. We can talk to clients anywhere around Australia by using this platform. We'll teach you how to do it. There's regional support and divisional. I'm a fellow CPA. I've had my own accounting firms for nearly 30 years. I'm a second-generation accounting firm. I've owned hotels, motels, exporting, finance. So I've got a half an idea what's going on in business. So your first call is your regional. Then if you're not getting support from there, is divisional. And next is Jim. Now, you've met Jim, haven't you, Michael?
Yeah, I have met Jim.
Yeah, there is a real person. There is a Jim.
His name's not Jim though, but there is a Jim.
Yeah, his name's correct, not Jim. Now, Jim at training will give you his personal mobile number, and he's available up to 10 p.m. every night, except Sunday morning when he goes to church. He will take your call. So if you're not getting support from your regional, your divisional, then you go direct to Jim. And let me tell you, Jim then is on my case. Then I'm on the regional's case to make sure the franchisee is being supported. Jim just backs franchisees 100%. He will always skip the divisional and regional. If that franchisee is doing the right thing and not getting the support that is required, then we will be breached. A divisional will be breached. That means I've got to pay more franchise fees. The regional will be breached, and they don't need to pay more franchise fees. So it's a very good hierarchy system, and Jim's very active in the process. Look, another support process, which is really good, you'll buddy up with some other franchisees in our group. And the worst thing about running a very successful business is time. When do I get time to take off? So I've had several cases where I've gone away, or a franchisee's gone away for 2 or 3 weeks. Can you handle my phone calls, my database to look after me? Because we're under a franchise agreement and confidentially and support processes, you can confidently say, hey, Lloyd, I'm away for 2 or 3 weeks. Can you take some of my calls? Can you review my emails? I've done all the BASs, just support and help. So that's a really good process with comfortable and confidence that that franchisee's not going to steal your clients. We've had a case, and it wasn't under my watch, it was before I was involved with Jim's bookkeeping. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Husband and wife team, very successful bookkeeping team. The husband tragically passed away. Very successful bookkeeping business. The wife, as you would expect, was distraught, couldn't do anything in the business. So what happened, the region and franchisees got together and said, I won't mention her name, we'll handle your business for you. We'll look after it. We'll maintain it. We'll support everything. You go and get what you had to do. 18 months later, she came back. Here's your business, and still functioning now. She's got 5 or 6 employees. So there's a community group, and our vision is caring, giving, and sharing. So that's a real part of our support. Michael, over to you. Tell us about the support stages that you've had from the start and where you are now.
Yeah. So I was approached to come into gyms by Peter Lawson. Now, Peter Lawson is quite reputable in the accounting world, and so is Lloyd, in saying that both are extremely reputable. They've both got an extreme amount of credibility, and there's a wealth of experience, not just in the accounting and the bookkeeping side of things, but also in just the day-to-day, like just business management, how to grow and build businesses. And that was kind of a big decision-making point for me when I decided to come on board. Like the brand behind me, H Use of Accounting, that's been around for 20 years, but that'll never have the same brand power as Jim's Bookkeeping. That Jim's group, that Jim's brand, yet it's been around for about 30 years now. But, I'm more likely to start a conversation with my Jim's shirt on than I am to do it with my accounting shirt on, because people see that and go, hey, what's that? I didn't know you did this, or I didn't know you did that. So there's definitely that power in that brand. As far like from support, I can pick up the phone and call Pete and Lloyd whenever I feel like it. Going into those Ask the Expert meetings, it's a community type feel, because we're all in it together. We're all there to achieve a common objective. And sometimes I might not know something, but somebody else does. I had a situation where I did it. I'm not particularly familiar with the Sasu software, but there was a franchisee that does know that software, and so together we worked on that particular client, and then he's provided me some feedback and training on how to better use Sasu. So it's really good that you get not only the support from Pete and Lloyd, but you've also got the support from your fellow franchisees. Like I'm happy to share whatever information I can and whatever knowledge I can with my franchisees, which my fellow franchisees, and it's all a team.
Michael, let's get dirty. Sometimes we don't agree.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's not like it's all fun and games. There's times where Lloyd has his way of doing things and I have my way of doing things, and I think being similar kind of personality types, we can kind of clash. There was one instance where I went and did an expo, and I was consulting with Pete and Lloyd and saying, hey, can I get your feedback? Can I get your tips? And Lloyd was quite flat out saying, no, don't do it. You're not going to make money. It's a waste of money. Don't do it. I did it anyway because that's the kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person that says, you know what, I'm going to do it and I'm going to prove you wrong. I did it and I did prove him wrong. But there's instances like that. There's other times where I'll provide maybe a suggestion. I think there was stuff about content for the website, even another presentation where we've kind of butt heads. But in what family do you not agree? Like I've never seen a family that agrees on 100% anything. And I think you need those disagreements to grow in your relationship. So, anytime we've butt heads, it's a little, you're this, you're that. And then, the next week it's, mate, how you going? We don't
yell at each other too much, Michael.
No, we're all good. There's the occasional, like, you know, what are you doing here? Like Lloyd's called me up once because I did something very wrong. So when it comes to marketing, don't send out an email from the database to the franchisees, irrespective of whether it's your patch, because that's not right and that's not on. And, you know, that was a very angry phone call I got from Lloyd afterwards saying, what are you doing? You're ruining my work and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's one of those things that once, you know, I explain, I apologize. Once the dust settles, we're all happy and, you know, we can move forward.
I think the biggest tip about, and not only just talking to Michael, but anybody that I learned from one of my mentors was, if there's a bit of frustration out there, if there's something you need to say, stop, sleep on it, and contact the next day. You know, I had a massive issue last night. My wife had to go and get some blood tests, and she said, can you get some fish and chips? We've got a new fish and chip shop down the road. And they had all these sponsors, you know, these special discounts. So I got the flyer, phoned up, ordered the fish and chips, which is not far, walked around, went to pick them up and walked, remember, and that's about 500 metres from home. And I said, oh, can I have an order for Lloyd, please? 2 fish and chips, blah, blah, no order. I said, oh, well, here's the thing. And what they had done, their marketing, they'd put the wrong phone number for another store, which is 5 Ks away. So all their marketing had all their stuff, but they put the wrong phone number. So I was pretty peeved, to tell you the truth. And I said, well, what do I do now? She says, oh, you got to wait a half an hour or go and get it. And I go, well, I've walked here. Cut a long story short, last night I was pretty peeved. And I was going to get on Facebook and do things, and you sleep on it overnight, sit back and say, that's past, let's move on. So probably any tips or any conflict that we do is sleep on it. So great support. Let me